I'm going to read you an excerpt, just 2 sentences from a book that I talk about in this episode. It's the words of Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, quote, "I am certain that as we stand in the care of this faithful force, that what has seemed dead is dead no longer. What has seemed lost is no longer lost. That which some have claimed impossible is made clearly possible. And what ground is fallow is only resting, and waiting for the blessed seed to arrive on the wind with all God's speed." That's from a small but mighty book called The Faithful Gardener. This episode is a solo episode. We talk about metaphor and literally the necessity and relationship between seed and soil as it pertains to planting the best life possible for you, and what 2024, or whenever you're listening to this episode, is calling forth from you, right? Because the present has both the potential future and the past available. The soil creates life, and it accepts the life that has passed, alchemizes it to bring forth a new bloom. Tend the Flame is a place for you to come and slow down in this fast-paced world as human consciousness is evolving and as the speed of technology may have us forget. But I know you'll remember that the power resides within. I'm so glad that you are here. If you find benefit from this podcast, pass the flame on to another. Tag us on social media. Leave us a 5-star review if you're feeling generous. And I even ask for your input. Yes, I do. Send me an email, kate@katebretton.com. Listen for the question in the middle of the episode. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Tend the Flame. I want to talk to you guys about a concept, seeds and soil. And then we're going to talk a little bit about it this week, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it more next week. The idea with this podcast is that it'll inspire you and carry something into your day. So I would love for you to intake something today and then watch this week. How does it interplay with your world? Do you see reflections of it? So January, all the new things, right? Gregorian calendar, love to set the intentions. And we've talked about this here about how the natural cycles of things that actually spring in the Northern Hemisphere would be a more appropriate time to start the new year, which would be March 21st for 2024. I recently was reading a book by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes called The Faithful Gardener. And when I was reading it, and that's what I want to talk to you about this week and next week, I was shifting, my focus was shifting from seeds to soil. Seeds to soil. So I have a lot of ideas. I'm an idea person, but I'm not always, I'm actually very good with commitment, but I can have 10 ideas and not ground enough of the projects. Okay. Or, as my business coach will tell me, like I'll try to pivot before I have prepared. So you want to prepare, because constantly pivoting. Oh, this was the quote. I don't remember. I do not know who said this, but they said something like, if you alter your course, like an inch or two, it'll change everything, But if you turn around and keep going in circles, you go nowhere. So that's what I mean by pivot and prepare. So let me tell you a little story. A couple of years ago, I wanted to start a garden. Now, here's the thing. I just wanted to start it. I didn't want to do all of the reading about it, and it wasn't going to be very large, and I just wanted to take care of a garden, kind of like a lot of people after the sourdough phase of 2020, and I wanted my own garden. And I have had periods of my life where I've lived with bountiful fresh food, and that's really important to me. So the idea of fresh food is not new, and the idea of a garden isn't new, but I was living in a place that it would have been a new garden for me, and I just wanted to do it. Okay. And someone had offered their help, and they had chosen a soil I would have never have chosen, but I was like, whatever, I'm rolling with it. I set this intention. We're just running with it. I just want a garden. And the way that the container was set up for the garden was again not the way that I would have chosen, but I was just running with it. Okay. That garden got run over with grubs. Grubs. Have you seen a grub? Like, not from the safe space of like a two-dimensional, like in a magazine, like where you are hoping that there's flowers and instead you pull the soil back a little bit and this disgusting white thing is in there. I spent a summer warring with grubs, warring with them. I might have even, depending on how long you've been here listening to me talk, or if you are over on where I write at Substack, um, the year of the garden was also the year where I reinvigorated my interest in um, the common beauty around us. And I wrote a whole piece on catbird, which is a bird that maybe you wouldn't, take note of because it isn't fancy. However, she's deeply playful. So the summer of catbird was also the summer of the garden. And the high point of telling you this is, or the top note, it was a colossal waste of time. I had chosen such gorgeous seeds. I had a tomatillo plant. Like I was just so excited. And the grubs destroyed it because the soil wasn't right. So I had all this beautiful plants and I had my personal effort, but the soil wasn't primed. So it doesn't matter. The grubs ate the roots, and even the plants that were trying to grow. Like, I'm like, what's going on with my broccoli? And it's because the grubs were gnawing at the roots of my plants, siphoning off their energy, making it absolutely unable for them to reach their highest potential. So I'm in this very quiet place reading, potent in that the land is quiet and loved and tended to. And I'm reading in the mountains near the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. And I'm reading Dr. Estes, who is just a voice of our time. And there's this whole story about soil. It's about more than that. And I'm going to bring you there next week. But I was like, oh, that's so appropriate for our modern time that we spend so much time on the seeds, which are important, but they can't reach their full potential without the soil. So in our daily life, the soil is our mindset. People tell you you can say any affirmations you want, but if your subconscious doesn't feel safe, you will sabotage it. Soil. I was reading a book, It Didn't Start With You, which is about family constellation work. Phenomenal work, by the way. If you have I've only worked with one person with family constellations. He used to visit when I lived at a different place, and he'd come once a year. I wish I knew his name. I would recommend him to you. It's been so long, but he was a prolific practitioner and really deeply served me in my life. I did one private session with him and I think I did two workshops over the course of like 3 years. Um, but when people say if you have a false allegiance, you will not allow yourself the greatest possible joy, and it sounds ridiculous, that's the subconscious soil. When you that also can look like generational or ancestral allegiances, or like they go into in this book where you for whatever reason pick up unprocessed trauma that's not even from your previous lifetime and pass it through to you have to let it go. Soil. So even if you're doing all the right things, I know you might be like, whoa, how did I tumble into this conversation? Just let it be a possibility and just see how it reveals itself this week. You could have had trauma in your family. I'm not going to get into big T, small t trauma. I'm just going to say you could have had stories of unfinished things in your family line. And here you are, a 20 something, just living your life, doing your thing. And you can't figure out why you can't hold a relationship, or you're, a late 30 something and you really want kids and you can't figure out why you can't get pregnant. And then, you unpack and Of course, these are just examples. There could be, I'm not saying this is the thing that happens. I'm saying this is one of the unspoken possibilities that is not addressed in a world that is only looking at the external and is only looking at the seeds and not the soil it is being planted in. It's crazy. I've had instances in my life where I start to unpack things on my own, not even bring them up to family members, and then family members will share missing pieces for me that I haven't asked for because I've gone inside and I'm trying to tend my soil, right? I'm calibrating my vibration. And when you calibrate your vibration, your body will be like, oh, listen, we have this thing we've been carrying. You weren't looking in that drawer or that pocket, or it's just so deep below the surface. We've just been operating it as the undercurrent program. Did you want to let that go? Soil. In the Christian tradition, there's that story about like where the seeds get thrown. I don't like you. I think I say I didn't prep for this, but it's like, the mustard seed is small. And so as long as it falls on viable soil, it can grow. Smallest seed, soil. It's all about soil. Soil is your mindset. And affirmations are great, but just put your head on your forehead, right? Your hand, put your head on your forehead. Put your hand on your forehead, okay? Okay, your beautiful, beautiful organ of your brain that does so many amazing things. And I'm not going to disparage the brain, this gorgeous storehouse of personality. Now take that same palm and put it over your body. Oh, wait, what? Yeah, put it over your body. Put that palm over your body. Oh, you can't because there's so much more acreage. Are you going to put it over your heart, your belly, your ankle, your knee, your elbow, your shoulder, your back, your sacrum? Don't forget about all of these pieces that also carry the stories that also play a part in the soil. Because if you're regulated and your body feels connected, if you are ensouled and embodied, you have access to your soil. So when you pick a seed of, this is a seed that Colette Baron Reed, wow, did she just do an amazing vision boarding? I never thought I would be saying this, and I am astounded at this. She did like a 6 or 7 day, 5, 6, 7 day, walk you through how to make a vision board. But really, I would say it was not about the vision board. It was about going into the depth of your intentionality and including the why and the feeling tone. And she gave you tricks on like how to include your senses. It's your body, right? Your body has to be on board. This is your landscape. So I have been enjoying the two-part series of the podcasts. I would love if you have a moment, you could do me a favor. Could you send me an email at kate@katebretton.com, please? And let me know if you are enjoying or not enjoying the two-part series, because for me, I listen to only a few podcasts, and sometimes I can only listen to 10 or 15 minutes at a time. Sometimes I listen to really long episodes. So I don't mind a theme pulling through my week. How do you feel? Do you like the two-part episodes? I'd love to know. So as we are this week, Pluto's moving, right? Moving. I'll put a link to a podcast that could give you a lot more information than me just repeating what I'm hearing. But as Pluto changes from the sign of 15 years ago out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, some of us are coming up out of rocks that we have been placed, the pressure has been placed upon us to purify, and some of us are going to feel more pressure, right? So no one's really on the same journey. But seeds grow at different seasons, and different seeds need different soil, right? Some things can just grow. Some plants just grow. My aloe plant, oh my God, so happy. I brought my aloe plant right into my podcast studio. So it's right by the microphone, and a cactus. Love it. They're so happy. I've got a rosemary plant. Man, I read up about what I'm going to need to do to keep her alive inside. Not easy. Seeds and soil, time and place. So if you set intentions for the year, if you're someone that's like, okay, I didn't really set my intention yet because I'm kind of down on the whole nature cycle thing, but then you do know the planets are changing this week and you're like, I do feel this different energy inviting me and I'm wanting to contemplate what are my visions for my long-term vision and what are my goals for this year. Do me a favor this week, friend. As those ideas come, let's say the idea of spending 20 minutes, okay, spending 10 minutes in silence with yourself 3 times a week. What's your soil for that? What's your soil? What time of day is it going to be easier for you? Are you willing? Because that's going to make the change, right? Your mindset is your soil. The way you schedule your day, soil. The people you hang around, soil. Seeds are great, but you got to give them the light they need, the care, and the pH balance, apparently. Got to keep those grubs out. Got to keep the grubs out. So I will link the book and I will link the podcast for you. And I want you to come back next week. And if you haven't listened to Dana Mondello's podcast yet, it's a 2-part series. I would play that, especially the second part where we talk about community and the origin of connecting to the earth and the need for creativity and to be honest and to be humbled. When we're humble, we can be vessels for anything. I'll see you back here next week. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast. If you want to learn more about contemplating the year or the upcoming offerings, hop on over to katebretton.com. You can hop on the newsletter or see where I write at Substack, katebretton@substack.com. Thanks for being here. See you back here next week.